So, Roxanne, are you okay to actually come up and just talk a little bit about expenses and how, like, you just popped in 3 expenses really fast. You created a vendor, you created 3 expenses, and you kind of did some stuff. Would you be interested in kind of walking us through some of that?
Sure, like based on questions or just...
Pretend like you're teaching somebody. Okay, let's say that we have Russell here. He's never, ever done an expense, and you're going to kind of teach him how to do something, okay? And I can help wherever you need to, but basically what I want to do is, like, she does this stuff all the time. This is back-end office stuff, and I kind of like to have you get a little flavor of how it works. So she's going to kind of introduce expenses. You can go wherever you want. Set it as your default.
I like the classic homepage. Is that okay with everybody? That's
Yes.
like just my preference, but okay. So for those that have never actually built an expense receipt, how I always explain, the classic homepage is that, because people look at this and they get intimidated, especially people that you set up like owners and stuff, because they have almost all the permissions and they have all the tabs, all the drop downs, and it looks intimidating, But I just always remind people, and it may seem very basic, but sometimes in a new system it's not, that your assets are always, the money coming into your store. So that's why if you hit the drop down, you're going to see any quotes, any invoices, deposits, your receivables, people owing you money, things of that nature. Then your liabilities are any money that goes out, which are of course going to be expense receipts, purchase orders, dealing with your bills and paying your bills, payables. So if you wanted to, and then I always let them know too, a way to kind of think of it when you're dealing with, sometimes people are confused by a purchase order and an expense receipt, because they think anytime you're paying money, you're going to have an expense receipt, which is kind of true. But if it involves inventories, anything that you're going to buy and you're going to sell for whatever, your store, whatever, is going to be a purchase order. Anything that you're going to pay that doesn't relate to inventory is going to be, an expense. So your Excel bill, your, charge at King Soopers for office supplies. I mean, anything that is not related to inventory is how I explain it. Is that right?
That's perfect.
That's how I always explain it.
You're not selling it. You just
it's a cost to your business, but it isn't on your
Correct.
shelf at any point. Nothing. You're not selling it.
That's good.
So if you go to your expense receipt homepage, that's where you can look at any of your reporting as far as expenses that are in there already. As a bookkeeper or accountant or whatnot, you can use this screen versus going to your profit and loss. Sometimes I'll come in here and hit show hide, and I'll say, okay, well, you know what, I know I have that expense. I don't remember what month it was in. I thought it, and I know we don't have anything that far back, so maybe I should just go to July 1st. We don't have a lot in here, but I mean, you can target it this way, and just look at your expenses like that. If you know a number, of course, you can quick search an expense. But, I mean, basically you're going to come to your expense receipt homepage to build a brand new expense. So say we have a bill. Say we have a bill from CenturyLink. And I, by the way, love how you guys have that search engine to where you can look at your vendor first, because then it avoids duplicates too. I really like that because I'm a stickler about voids, duplicates, all that type of stuff.
So what she's talking about, and you can't even see it right here, but if you search for a vendor, there's a link off to the side that says current activity or current expenses. So you can click on it and see if you've actually already added that one in there. And then right from there, there's a link that goes, oh, create a new one, like if that's really what needs to happen. So it kind of helps you.
And what I always say is we create a lot of fail safes in there, so there's not so many duplicates, because you can add a lot of duplicates.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the system will just take it. It has no clue that doesn't really exist. But we do add a lot of fail-safes once you learn how to use them, so that you check yourself.
So just going back again to the beginning, if you're creating an expense receipt and say you're trying to make a bill from CenturyLink and you put in just a few letters and you don't see it, and then you're just still like, no, you know what, I know I paid a bill in Adilas. Sometimes you do that because maybe a typo or something. If you're still not sure, I'll go to my printable list of vendors. And that'll tell you everybody you have. And you're looking like, oh, okay, I forgot the N in Denver, that's why. So I put in my search engine DEN. Well, it isn't going to find DEN if it doesn't say DEN. It says DEVER. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if you're just trying to make sure, you can always look at your vendors too. But you would just add your vendor like you would any other vendor, which I'm just going to be real quick and not even put the right information. You know, sometimes you do have to put things in on the fly just to get something done, and then I'll come back later and edit my vendor and put their address, their phone number, whatever else you need. And then I'll just make my expense. This is where if you have like a bill for your internet service or whatever it is, maybe it's due on 8/1. I always put it there for the due date. If I don't, I'll just either leave it blank. I usually leave it blank. I don't like it to have two dates if that's not the real due date. I'm real OCD like that too. So I'll just put, you know, 8/1 if it is a bill, and then, you know, maybe it was like $250.
That's a lot for internet. You should call me.
It's telephone internet.
That's a horrible bundle plan.
We'll talk. One good thing to know about when you're creating an expense receipt is, say for instance you have, okay, and this may, I hope I'm not like, I'm kind of like, I'm all over the place is okay if you, so, you know, maybe you have like credit cards bill that you know wasn't on a company credit card. It was somebody's personal credit card. This is one of my favorite features right here. When you put in the expense receipt, say this was for CenturyLink, but Bob paid for it, and Bob used his personal credit card. You would actually put it in as Bob's because you're going to owe Bob money. You're not going to owe CenturyLink. Bob paid it. Maybe I should use that analogy. But so then you would go ahead and click this button because Bob is eventually going to need reimbursement. So if you click that button right there, when you go to your payables homepage in the end, and you know what, we'll do one after. Let's finish CenturyLink. I don't want to confuse
So
you guys.
she unselected it, just so you know.
I just unselected it. This is just going to
But
be
you
a
are
bill to
gonna do one more,
CenturyLink.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in seeing that.
Doing one more? Okay. So I'm just going to put not sure, but you know what? If you're in your categories and you're like, you know, the category's not there, what you need to do is create a category. I can show you how to do that too. Right now we're going to put not sure. Because we have all these locations, we're going to select the location. We're just going to keep picking on Brandon. I try to be consistent with my notes, so what I'll do a lot of the times is I'll copy, and I'll just copy and paste because I put my notes everywhere. The reason why I do is because they show up in different reporting screens. If you're looking in different search engines, you may see a note and you know you put it in there, but you didn't put it in all the fields. It's only going to show up in certain areas. So I duplicate my notes, as you can see up here in the main part, the line items, and in the payment section, because those are all different themes. So I always do that with my stuff. So we'll just put, you know, it was a check, and it was out of that bank. It was 26754. So really, you just created your expense receipt. You know, it says that it was paid to. I didn't even put link in. I was so fast. So we paid Century. We paid on this day, even though it was due on this day. This is the amount that we paid. Remember, if you needed to change anything in this top section underneath the first blue headers, you're going to have to go to Edit Main because that will allow you to change the name, the date. If you need to change something in the middle section, that's always your detailed. What you paid for, what you bought, whatever. It's always the same. So you'd go into there, like maybe, you know what, I forgot there's actually another fee. Let's see, we'll say, well, I don't want to go off on the amount. Anyhow, you can add more than one. Like say you had a fee here for $250 and you wanted to break it down. You could actually break down your bill. If you wanted to know how much on your bill you paid for telephone versus internet, because maybe your accountant has it broken up like that. Some have just utilities. Some may have internet and telephone separate. It all depends. You can break it down within the line items and put $200 telephone as the expense type. Then you could put the other amount as the internet type. You know, you can really break it down here in the middle section.
She take the edit.
Right. Once you come in here, you can add.
So she would technically just let's just go through this one, and then let's go actually create two
something
new.
else.
Let's go. No,
Okay.
let's go. We'll come back here to this one. I'd like to leave it at one line item right now.
Okay.
I don't
Build
know.
on it.
Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, I actually needed two categories, one for phone,
Yeah.
one for internet, and then we're going to come back and change it then, once we actually have the other piece in place.
Okay. So we're going to just say we printed the check, and we're just going to go from here.
Let's have you go expense receipt homepage for just a minute.
What's one more cool thing before you leave is this might come in, you know, helpful for you back there, Shannon. When you go back and you're starting to clean things up or fix things because you're working with that one credit card company, you can actually just say, hey, you know what, create another expense receipt with the same payee instead of, you probably already know that. So what it would do is just go in there and it would populate Century. And then you just start putting it in. Sometimes that's good when you're doing the same vendor over and over and over for some reason. So if I go back to the home page.
So there's a link right on top. There's a ton of links in the middle. Right in the bottom middle it says Add Edit Expense Type. These are your classifications or account types. Let's go ahead and scroll down just so they can see that we don't have a whole lot.
This is all we have. Sometimes I like too how you guys have the not sure in here, because when you get into any job as a consultant or even as a bookkeeper or an employee, I mean, there's always something that you have to figure out. So you're not going to know right offhand what that's for, what that's about. So I'll put anything as not sure if I'm really not sure, and then I'll go back later and clean it up when I know
Circle back,
what it was.
circle back.
So let's see, what do we want to add here?
Let's have you go up to the top of the page and go ahead and let's just do some
And they have all
utilities.
these in here as well, which is awesome. So we're going to do utilities.
Sure. Let's go utilities and phone.
We're going to say telephone and internet, or just
Let's just do telephone.
telephone. And I just make notes, even though you already know what it's all about. I always put expense all telephone bills here. Expense all internet bills here.
Go ahead and say add that account.
Do you want me to slow down for a sec, Danny?
Let's have you go ahead and say add account. And then we're going to do the exact same thing.
We're going to do rent.
Let's go ahead and put one under for internet.
Internet?
Because we're going to break that little thing down a little
Break them
bit.
down.
So this is where she's actually physically setting up some categories. Very similar to how you add parts so that you can sell them out. This is how you kind of categorize your expenses. Where's your money going to go? Oh, perfect. She's rocking through a bunch of them.
Slow down there, killer.
So you can like I was saying, you know, if you ask your accountant or bookkeeper or whatnot, however they want your chart of accounts set up, this is where you come in and you fix it. So that when you look at a P&L from how they want it, maybe they used to use QuickBooks and they printed out their profit and loss statement or gave you their chart of accounts, something that said this is how I want it set up. This is where you're going to come in and you're going to make it just like that. That way when you look at your reporting from the stuff you're doing and you give it to them later, it's going to be how they like it. So there's a lot of that. So now it'll be down here on the bottom. We have our rent and our utilities, and we have our utilities broken up even to internet and telephone. Some people don't care. Some people have utilities and it'll be, you know, cable, internet, telephone, whatever. It just depends on how deep you want to go with everything.
Okay, so
So now-
let's have you go back to that expense receipt that you just created last.
I don't remember the number, so I'm going to go back. So it's going to be number 6.
Okay.
So if you want to go to your quick search even, you could put number 6 instead of going to the home page. Maybe you knew what number. But anyhow, now what I'm going to do is, as you can see when you come into an expense receipt in the beginning, there's no way to edit. You have to either go into the main, which is the main section, the main info, or the line items, which opens up the actual expensing and the actual payment information. So I'm just going to go into the edit line items, and now I'm going to edit here in the middle. And I'm going to say this was for $200 because it breaks it down on your bill sometimes. And we're going to say the $200 was for the telephone, which is still expensive. And I'm going to change my note because I'm going to say this is all telephone. Now the amounts are off. It says check my math because it was for $250 and that's what I paid. So now what I want to do is I'm going to want to...
Scroll down further.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what is it? This looks so different to me. Your computers, you get used to them, huh? They're not that different.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we got our $50 left. You could do it 3-4 times in your line items, whatever you need to break down. If you pay your landlord and you're paying them for rent, you're paying for utilities and for trash, then you can make one check to your landlord for the amount. You could put your rent on one, your utilities, and your trash, or, you know, however you want to do it. So we're going to say that's the internet. And it's still that location. And I'm going to say internet. You could even put, you know, from 7/1 to 7/31, whatever you want to do. So now my amount is correct. Both amounts are correct, so it's not saying to check my math. And now you have it broken down. And we paid it.
Okay, awesome.
So
real
now,
quick, I'd like you to go to a P&L if you're
That's
okay.
what I was going to do. So now if I go to my P&L, which is in the system reports, go to my income statement, P&L, and if I put in, I'm just going to leave 1-1 to 718. You know, really, we could just deselect all and put Brandon's, which is probably what we should do to not confuse. I don't know. Should we put everybody?
Let's go ahead and put everybody.
Everybody?
Like, we haven't even looked at this
I
page
know.
ever.
I don't even know what's in here either, but anyway,
Okay,
it'll pull up everything.
What I'm trying to show you is she just categorized phone and internet on separate line items on an expense. All she did was she paid a bill, okay? But I want to show you where it shows up, okay?
And in all honesty, I always leave everything the way it is once I come in here. The only thing I change is the report type. I want to see everything. That's the only thing I changed, unless I change the date. And then I just put get numbers. So now it's going to show you everything. And down your expenses are in the bottom. And it's going to say, okay, here was your internet for 50, your telephone for 200, from January 1st to July 18th. As you're looking at your P&L and kind of doing reconciling or getting ready to reconcile your bank statements, you're going to want to kind of look down and look for your not sures. If I was to click on my not sures, it'll pull up everything that I'm not sure of. So then I would just go and I'd say, okay, wait a minute, ABC Utilities, well, I know what that is. That's utilities. So I'm going to go to the line item.
I put that in there.
And
So
I'm
now
gonna
you can just throw
put-
it back into a utility.
I'll just say telephone because I'm not sure. We'll say,
It's
well,
electric.
no, it's actual utilities. So I guess I should put electric, huh? So if I got there in this screen and I tried to add it at the actual expense receipt level and I didn't see what it is in the list, then I can add a type here as well. You don't have to go to that other link. You can add it right as you're in here. So again, that would be just going back to my P&L.
Can you verify in the P&L, Roxanne?
No. So here's my P&L again, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, my P&L ain't right. I have all these not sures. Okay, ABC, you know what? I know that that's in there. So now I'm coming to the middle to fix my not sure right here, but I don't have electric, so I'm going to add it. And I'm going to say this is utilities as well, but this is my electric. And now I'm going to expense all my electric.
So this description, just so you know, it's kind of,
Put
in
whatever.
case you wanted to print out the whole list of what your types are, it has a little description next to it. So it's not ambiguous as far as what the different things are.
And then right here, I'm just going to go in now because now I know I added it, and now it'll be there. My electric. So now I have everything in there. Now if I was to go back to my P&L, which I could have just went to the P&L again. I'm just going to hit my numbers again. So now it's going to be broken down, and of course, like, you know, depending on what your business is, I mean, you'll have inventory, the revenue up here. It'll break it down, the inventory, however you have it. Remember, we created our shakers and our animals and our flutes and our supplies and all that. It breaks it down however you see fit. And then it has like any labor, any other miscellaneous costs, and then it'll have your cost of goods. This is what we paid for all these items to sell. And it breaks it down the same way as you had it broken down with your inventory.
So those are technically your part categories, the services and the shakers.
Whoever
and
you
the,
make it.
Yep.
And then
Once you
have-
learn one of the things go, you're, I know how to paint that picture, but like, you kind of have to learn where some of the things are connected to.
And you really do have to build it and mess up, unfortunately. That's why I tell my clients, I just had one today, and I told her, I said, just get in there, start making your expenses. You know you've been paying electric bills and rent and all this, just put them in there. If you messed it up or you think something's wrong, leave it. Don't fix it. Because then when I meet you next time, I can tell you what was wrong, and I can show you, and we can fix it. So, you know, everybody does that, really. I still do that. Like, as a consultant, I'm not perfect. It's just error. So, you know, you can clean it up. That's what I like about Adilas, too, is you can clean up anything. You know, now, later, you know, and it'll affect your books as you clean it up. So ultimately, in the end, don't worry about it, because at the end, you're working towards that cleanup, you know. It's really, it'll all work
So
out.
be unafraid to just.
Yeah, don't be
Oh, yeah,
afraid to use
dive in
it.
there
That's
and
the
then-
one thing, is that people are afraid to get in there and really just use it. Use it, you know, create the errors, and then fix them.
45 books.
Fix them, we'll fix them.
So here's the cool thing about this, Shannon, is say you had 45 boys, and you're like, oh my goodness, that is an ugly scar. Well, what happens is that invoice homepage, it keeps running over time. So it's just doing a 30-day look back.
Right.
So pretty soon, those things are going to be completely water under the bridge. It is an ugly scar.
Yeah,
It will be water under the bridge.
And it sounds like you have actually voided, so we wouldn't be able to fix if you have voided. If there's ones that you know are wrong but you haven't voided,
Well, 'cause I would void it and I would just make a new one. And then I would
Yeah.
probably void that, because I got rock too, and then make another one.
yeah.
Void.
Think
But
about
you
the
probably learned
thing.
from that already, see?
I'm not, I keep, I don't know what's going on, I just void it and start over.
Well, pretty soon you won't see all those. So when you search, just look from the time before that, you know.
Yeah, don't even do those.
Yeah. But, so yeah, so that's an expense receipt.